Regulation H has been a format where some wild and wacky Pokemon have found their niche into the metagame. Now, today we are going to be taking a look at some more Pokemon that I think are underrated that also could just be waiting for their chance at the spotlight. This is technically part 2, guys, so if you did miss out on the first underrated Pokemon list, it'll be linked up above for you right now. However, let's kick off this list with Barraskewda. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of heads turning with this Barraskewda pick, especially starting it off on the list. I feel like there definitely could be a lot more that I could have started with here. But Barraskewda is a Pokemon that intrigues me. The metagame right now is developing around, we've seen a lot of Mousehold being one of those faster threats on a lot of teams, right? Sneasler being a faster threat on a lot of teams. So I think having that opportunity to have a fast threat is very clearly showing what it can do. And I think Barraskewda, under the right circumstances, given the right team, can absolutely be that threat. I'm not talking Swift Swim, although you probably could do that. However, I think Basculegion is just a better Swift Swim user in this format. I'm more so looking at Propeller Tail. And for those of you that don't know what Propeller Tail does, it basically is very similar to Stalwart on Archaludon, where none of your moves can be redirected. Whether this is an electric attack, not getting redirected by Lightning Rod, or the much more common aspect where it's a Rage Powder or a Follow Me, your moves will be hitting the target you are intending to hit. And that goes a long way in this metagame, given how much redirection we have. We have Clefable, Electabuzz, Amoonguss, Mousehold, right? Like, that's just some of them. We've seen Magmar have some usage at some points as well. So I think being able to hit the Pokemon you are trying to hit with Barraskewda is incredibly strong. You have a very nice speed tier of 136, so you can probably get away with going max speed adamant at 188. However, you may be looking, if you want to just, creep a little bit harder and go a little bit faster, you can go all the way up to 206 if you wanted to. You probably don't need to go too high. I'm sure you can find a nice speed tier in here somewhere. Maybe 196, outpace Talonflames. But I'm sure there's something around this area that you can find that's a lot more fitting than me thinking about it for like 2 seconds. So take a look at that speed tier, and then you have a 123 base attack stat. So you can just kind of max that out, and you are hitting things incredibly hard. You do miss out on a lot of KOs since it is a bulkier metagame, but that can be easily fixed with a partner Pokemon, whether you're pairing this thing beside maybe a Helping Hand, maybe a Coaching from a Sneasler, or a Coaching from a Blaziken. Shoutouts to Blaziken. But you get really cool moves. You got big water damage, whether it's going to be Liquidation or if you want to fish for flinches with Waterfall. You get a lot of cool coverage moves like Close Combat. You get Throat Chop as well. I believe you also get Poison Jab if you're looking to hit Whimsicott. So you get a lot of cool options, a lot of very strong coverage options into a lot of the metagame. And what I think you can build Barraskewda for is, I'd have to look into this a little more, but a lot of the Trick Room teams right now, they are running Follow Me Trick Room. Maybe you pair this with a priority blocker, or just maybe you go Terra Ghost to get out of Fake Out, or even Covert Cloak. But I do think you're going to want a damage boosting item here. I really do think Barraskewda wants to send damage. So I'd pair this with some sort of maybe a priority blocker, whether it be Serena, Farigiraf. And this is going to be your Trick Room option. So if they're going to try and leave Follow Me and Trick Room, basically the Barraskewda with Throat Chop, Poison Jab, presumably going to be Terra Stellar. I'd have to look into some of these calcs. But in theory, you are Terra Stellaring, you are hitting Armarouge with the Throat Chop, you are hitting a Terra Grass Armarouge with the Poison Jab, you are hitting, or you can just send big liquidation damage if the Armarouge as well, right? Like, there is a lot of options you can go for here into those Trick Room setters, whether it's the Porygon 2. Now you're dropping Terra Stellar Life Orb Close Combat into the Porygon 2. That one might not get the kill. But once again, maybe you pair it with like Helping Hand for Farigiraf. Then you're just picking up the knockout. And you're basically saying, well, you can't follow me here. And if you know they can't follow me, you can capitalize on that. Or if they want to follow me anyways, you can capitalize on that. It does force a few 50-50s. But I think Barraskewda, just given how the natural speed, its attack stat, and Propeller Tail is a broken ability. When you can guarantee that you are hitting the target you want to hit, it is incredibly strong. And we've seen it in the past with Stalwart Archaludon. We saw it in previous formats before Archaludon was a thing with Stalwart Duraludon as well. Barraskewda is one of those Pokemon that kind of does suck. Those defensive stats are terrible, I will be honest. But sometimes you have those Pokemon that just don't have the stat total, but with a busted ability and a couple niche opportunities for it to shine, it can absolutely go off. And I'd be curious to see if Barraskewda falls upon that list. This next one is probably the more normal of the underrated Pokemon, and I think Corviknight has a huge spot in the metagame right now. And this is not just me, hyping up Corviknight because it's got a special place in my heart. But Mirror Armor is an incredible ability right now, always has been. It's never going to be a bad ability. Just not being able to get intimidated, bouncing any lowering stats back into your opponent's direction feels incredible. And Garchomp is on the rise. Population Bomb Mousehold on the rise. The Porygon 2 Incineroar Amoonguss stuff, that's on the rise. Ursaluna Hisui, Ursaluna Blood Moon. Corviknight is walling out all of these pieces effectively, incredibly well. The biggest concern I have for Corviknight would be that rain matchup. So obviously you wouldn't want Corviknight on a team that doesn't like seeing rain. But I think if you can get around like the big rain weakness here where Electro Shot is going to kind of force your Terra, and then your Terra, and you don't really want to be doing that because Steel Flying is the typing you are trying to abuse right now. Now, yes, could you go like Iron Defense Body Press Terra into something that can take a couple hits from Archaludon and just send Body Presses back that way? You absolutely could. However, in my opinion, I'm not necessarily sure if that's where I'd want to go with Corviknight. I think I just take the fact to say, hey, I'm not beating Rain with this Corviknight, and I'll let the rest of the teams deal with that. But Corviknight's pretty good into Sneasler. It's a little shaky because close combat still technically does hit you hard, but I think as a whole, Sneasler's never OHKOing you. You can't get hit by Dire Claws, though. No shenanigans from their end there. And you just Brave Bird them back. And a set that I'd be looking for here is something like Brave Bird, Body Press. I think Body Press is incredibly strong right now, given King Gambit, given all those steel types in the format. I think having Body Press is incredibly strong. So I wouldn't necessarily want to give up on that. And then you have options like you have Roost, you have Tailwind if you want to support the rest of your team. You have Bulk Up if you want to go for a setup option. Like you can go Bulk Up, Tailwind if you want. You can probably throw Roost on here somewhere. If you think you have King Gambit covered and you have those Steel Dark types covered, you want to drop Body Press, you can do something like this as well. There's a lot of options for Corviknight. It's shaping up really well into the metagame right now. Does a good job into Goldengo as well. That one's more iffy, but you can actually take a hit from the Goldengo, and that could just be enough sometimes, like especially like those specs Make It Rain ones. Being able to tank hits from that, maybe set up a Tailwind and have something in the back sweep for you, could definitely go a long way. So I'm curious if Corviknight sneaks into the metagame. There's a lot going on here. It has respectable stats, obviously nothing crazy. The speed tier is kind of middling and it's not really that great, but you can do a lot with this moveset. Once again, another Pokemon that has just a really busted ability. And I think in a format like this is a format where busted abilities will shine, and I'm curious to see if anybody can make this Corviknight work. I might be working on it in the background as well because, like I said, soft spot in my heart. But there's a lot going on here, and I definitely think this like slow Bulk Up, maybe supportive Tailwind, maybe Iron Defense Body Press is another cool option as well. I definitely can see Corviknight creeping into this metagame a lot more than what we're seeing usage-wise right now. Garganacl is one of my wild cards, so to speak here. It's a Pokemon that has some decent stats, right? Like it's a very defensive Pokemon. You don't need speed or special attack on this piece. So we've seen it in Regulation A. We've seen it in past formats where it's just able to tank hits, and then it gets the ability to recover. It gets the ability to click Wide Guard versus some of the Psy Spam, stuff like that. And then you get access to Salt Cure. And Salt Cure is an absolutely broken move. You are dealing a 1/8 HP to every Pokemon at the end of each turn, which is already pretty good. Obviously nothing groundbreaking. But the 1/4 to Steel and Water types, especially when there's 3 Steel types at the top of the format right now, I think has huge potential to make its way back into this format. The format itself is slowing down. We're seeing a lot of that Porygon 2, the Incineroars, the Amoonguss is just trying to win those damage trades. Out damage your opponent and heal up yourself. and then just win those damage trades. It's a little bit of a slower game like that. So I think Salt Cure can definitely help you aid in those matchups. My main concern is, like I said, I want Salt Cure for those steel types. My problem is I'm a rock type, right? And yeah, okay, I can Terra out of it, but if my game plan is to always terrestrialize the Garganacl, that's going to get capitalized on. I'm not going to always be able to do it, so it is a little bit more niche, and you do need to find like the right Terra. I do indeed like Ghost a lot, because you get Purifying Salt, and then the Ghost damage is halved, which is very, very nice, and you don't get status. It's probably their best ability, but you have two other great abilities as well with Sturdy and Clear Body. But Ghost Purifying Salt feels really, really strong. You get out of that steel weakness. You have to watch the dark types, but you can cover that later. Once again, just probably wanting to run Protect, probably looking at like some sort of leftover set. And just finding ways to get Salt Cure on the board and winning those damage trades. You can end game a lot of opponents with this, especially on some of those, maybe those slower paced teams that are just looking to slowly whittle away at you and then win those long-term damage trades. Now all of a sudden you flip the script on them and you start looking for those long-term damage trades. Whether or not this is a Salt Cure that chips our Chaladon down to 75 and then you can knock it out with a Draco Meteor, right? You can do it that way as well, right? Just looking for that one chip of Salt Cure rather than the full stall mode. You know, I'm looking for that one chip. That way whatever comes in later can pick up that KO on it. If I get the Salt Cure on it, maybe I'm going to force a Terrestrialization. And then if I force the Terra, all of a sudden I can hit it with something else on my team. There's a lot you can do with Salt Cure that's not necessarily just the slow stall, recover, protect it off kind of end game. There's a lot of cool interactions with it, and I'm curious to see where Garganacl fits, because I really do think this Pokemon should be seeing more play. And I know a lot of people are going to hate me for it, because I know a lot of you despise going up against this thing, but it is a good Pokemon. There is no denying Garganacl is a good Pokemon. Like I said, we looked at the stats earlier. You're not dying very easily. You get Recover and Salt Cure, and I think that's the niche here for Garganacl, and I really do think it deserves a better spot in the metagame. Moving on, we've got another Pokemon with a incredible ability. Queenly Majesty is absolutely incredible. You have the ability to prevent priority moves going into you. We've seen this work on Farigiraf for a lot of this format, and everybody kind of seems like, oh, I want a priority blocker. Everybody seems to be leading to Farigiraf. They lean towards the Giraffe, and I agree. It probably has a little bit maybe better typing, but I think on a lot of the hyper offense teams, I think Serena fits the bill a lot better. The only problem here is you have to justify using it as your grass type in a format where we have Amoonguss, Rillaboom, Sinistcha. There are a lot of already good grass types, and justifying using Serena over one of those ones becomes a little difficult. But I think on the right hyper offensive team, you get a lot of cool things. You get moves like Triple Axle, which is incredible. You get moves like High Jump Kick, which is probably not going to want to be used. You don't really want to be sending things, but if you're really looking for that fighting coverage, Serena does get High Jump Kick. You get Leaf. You don't get Leaf Blade? Oh, it's Power Whip, right? Right. That's right. Serena has accuracy issues. My bad. So the accuracy issues here are a little bit of a problem. But if you pair this with, not Wide Lens, there's a few things you can do. You can go Wide Lens and just say, you know what, I'll boost my accuracy. 99% accurate triple axles. I should be hitting most of them, the three of them most of the time. But you could also go maybe, like if you wanted to be more hyper offensive, but you can go Loaded Dice Triple Axle. And now you don't get the 99% accurate triple axles each time. But what Loaded Dice Triple Axle does do is it means as long as the first triple axle connects, all three of them will connect because you are holding the loaded dice. Then you have access to your basically base 100 power move that's 100% accurate on your Serena, and every now and then, there we go, it will it'll be a little bit stronger than that Power Whip would have been, and it's 100% accurate. You don't need to worry about it. And then, like I said, you're using this on hyper offense stuff, so you're not getting faked out. If Amoonguss on those Porygon 2 Ursaluna teams is that redirector, you can kind of just lead Serena into that, and they can't fake you out with the Instant, and they can't redirect you with the Amoonguss because you're a grass type. So why not run something along the lines of Taunt? Why not run something along the lines of Helping Hand, right? So you can have opportunities like this. Now, chances are you're probably going to want Protect on your Serena, and it's probably going to be Taunt, but Helping Hand could be cool. But basically the concept here is like it's a hyper offense team. You put on a lot of pressure with bullet seed and triple axle. There's not a lot of switch ins to that, and if you pair it beside the right partners, Serena has a lot of potential to really go. The problem, like I said before, those accuracy issues may be forcing you to either go wide lens or this loaded dice set here. And then there's just better grass types than it. But I do think on the right hyper offensive team, Serena can definitely creep into the metagame. And I'm curious to see how long until someone cracks that code, because somebody in theory is going to run a crazy hyper offense team, and Serena is going to patch a lot of that team's holes, and it's going to work incredibly well. And I'm curious to see how long it's going to take, because I don't think it's a question of how will Serena see usage. I think it's a question of when will Serena see usage. Closing off the list, we do have Samurott Hisui, and I actually think Samurott Hisui has a lot of potential going on in this format. Sharpness is an absolutely busted ability. We've seen it work on Pokemon like Gallade in the past, just boosting those slicing moves. We'll get into what those are on Samurott in a second. But overall, you have the ability to hit incredibly hard. You are a water dark type, which is very, very valuable right now, whether or not you're going up versus Psy Spam. Just having water types in general in this format is really, really good, because right now there's a lot of room for those to grow. We have Primarina. I'm sure there's another one I'm forgetting here. I know Quackleval's been doing something in the background there. I'm definitely missing an obvious one here. I don't know why I can't think of it right now. Tauros Water has been around as well, right? There are good water types here, but I don't think any of them have really stuck out to me as the, oh my goodness, this is the water type, right? Obviously Pelipper and Basculegion, but those two are kind of on their own, and they're there to support Archaludon. Samurott is more so, I don't need to run Rain with this Pokemon. I have access to Aqua Cutter, which is technically 100% accurate, but it is technically your weaker move, right? So you are 75, but you also get, you are base 70 power, and you also get access to, I believe it's Razor Shell, which is the signature move, but that's 95% accurate. But you do get a 50% chance to lower the defense. So similar to the Icicle Crash dilemma on Shenpao, you go, do you lose 5 base power to become 100% accurate, or do I want this 5 base power with a 95% accuracy just to do a little bit more damage? I'd have to run damage calcs to really know that one. So that's something to look into there for sure. With the sharpness boost, it is very interesting that it's not quite a 5% base boost. It's actually a lot more than that, because of, you know, you're multiplying 1.5 on the 75 as opposed to on the 70, which does add up over time. But you get Aqua Cutter, where you get a big water move basically. You do get access to Knockoff. I don't know if that's something you necessarily want to run. I think Night Slash is very good. There's a lot of setup in the format right now. Not so much like Iron Defense stuff, but having Night Slash almost guaranteed crit, just you can do a lot of things, right? You can run Focus Energy here if you really wanted to as well, and then makes Night Slash and Aqua Cutter both guaranteed to crit, which is wild, right? And then you can maybe run Protect, but you also get access to stuff like Sacred Sword, which can burst through the defenses, right? Steel, we've been over this. Steel is a huge part of the metagame right now. Sacred Sword should be one-shotting King Gambits, should be doing a good chunk of damage to that Archaludon, despite any defense boosts you might have given it before. And I think that is really where Samurott wants to shine here, is just breaking through those defense boosts, whether it's with the Sacred Sword or with the crit set. Knockoff, once again though, I don't want to dismiss Knockoff. It is one of the best moves in the game. Just removing your opponent's item and consistently doing damage is always going to be good. It is never going to be bad. So don't dismiss Knockoff. But if you really want to take advantage of like the sharpness and take full advantage of damage, Night Slash, I think, is where you want to go. Of course, you do get some cool tech moves as well. Like, I believe you get Drill Run, which is cool. Helping Hand if you wanted to do that. Icy Wind for speed control if you wanted to do Scarf stuff. I think you get Snarl. Yeah. You get Snarl if you really just wanted to say, I do not like seeing Psy Spam. I wouldn't go this direction, but you definitely have that option. My biggest issue is your special defense here. And you really don't do anything amazingly. You're kind of just here. You know, you're not doing anything like over the top. You're just kind of chilling around. But the stats are very respectable. I think on the right set, it can definitely sneak into the metagame. And I really think it has. I know a couple top players used it in the Grand Challenge this past weekend. So I'm curious to see if it's not just like I'm going to use this in a closed team sheets best of one thing, if it can actually stick around in a best of 3 format. But that is going to do it for the list. Let me know if there's anything you guys think that I seriously missed that really deserves a look in this format. Of course, guys, I can really only put so many Pokemon on this list. I know there are a ton that I did miss, but this is kind of where I think these 5 are very close to making it into the metagame. I see things for them right now. A lot of the other things, like I wanted to do Toxtricity at some point as well, but that's more of I just want generally an electric type Pokemon right now because we don't have a lot of them. That's more of a general thing. I didn't really see a key niche for it quite yet. But I know there's other Pokemon out there. Let me know if you guys think this is a good list, if this is a bad list, if you think I'm insane for suggesting stuff like Barraskewda. But I do think there's a Cook there. That definitely is my more wild one on this list. But that, like I said, guys, is going to do it here. If you guys do enjoy this type of content, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. It really does help with the channel. And, of course, I really do appreciate it. But with that, I'm going to get on out of here, and I will catch you all in a future video.